Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Elevenses with the Reps at Diesel Bookstore. Thank you for joining us on this very warm and humid day in California. It is, we were just talking about that, how mushrooms are sprouting from nothing. We're not used to this kind of humidity in California, but thank you for joining us on this Wednesday. Every Wednesday, we do get together here with our fabulous publishers, representatives, and our booksellers, and we talk about, guess what, books, but especially books that new and upcoming releases that our publishers reps want you to know about and tell you about to keep you informed so that you can add to your to-be-read pile. And we also have booksellers because, you know, who better to push books on you than a bookseller, right? So, and we are going to post all of the links to the books we talk about today. And we've got a lot of books to talk about. It's like a very mad, summery, humid rush of books here today. And we'll have all of the links posted in the chat area for you so you can go ahead and click on those at your leisure. And I'm going to introduce everybody in 1 second. But first, I want to tell you about a special event that we've got. Our big event coming up over the next week is happening this weekend in all of Los Angeles, actually, and it's the inaugural LA book crawl. And I know, very exciting, so glad that LA is finally getting a book crawl. We've had one in San Diego for many years already, and it's hugely fun and successful. And we have, I think at this point, like about 13, 15 participating bookstores. Gets bigger every year. And essentially, now LA is doing it, and it'll be this weekend, Friday the 24th, Saturday the 25th, and Sunday the 26th. It's 3 days that you get to do the rush. And essentially, we've got 15 participating bookstores. The list is all available on our website there. You can see all of it on dieselbookstore.com. And it's like super fun. You just run around and go to all of these bookstores and buy books and have fun. But of course, it's not just that. There's also like specialty merchandise and prizes as you go to bookstores. And there's just, and you add them up and they're like sort of escalating prizes the more bookstores you go to. And everybody's just having a fabulous time. And it's like community, right? When you go out on these days, everybody's just having the best time. It's really a party atmosphere. I used to say it was like our bookseller version of Coachella or something, but or no, maybe the LA one will be more like Burning Man. I don't know, but we'll see. Anyway, so hope you'll join us and stop into Diesel as well as the other fabulous bookstores this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Check it out on our website. We have all of the information there. All right. Without further ado, let me introduce everybody who's going to be talking about books today. We've got joining us from HarperCollins, Suzi Hough. That's always good to see you, Suzi. Julia Callahan from Hachette Star filling in today. We really appreciate it, Julia. And from the bookstore itself, from Diesel, we've got Kelsey joining us, and she's over there in the corner. Okay. Thank you for joining us, Kelsey. Suzi, start us off.
All right. First, I am talking about Skeleton and Cat, I believe. So Skeleton and Cat is an adorable picture book. It's not a Halloween book. I want to make that clear. Even though there is a skeleton and there is a black cat, it's not a Halloween book. It's not even spooky. This is a story about a friendship between a garden-loving skeleton and the cat that invites itself into her life. They do all kinds of cozy things together, like drinking tea and reading books and telling jokes and frolicking in the garden. So think Frog and Toad and their pure cottagecore vibe and gentle life lessons, but with a gothic flair. And it's set in this beautiful, richly colorful world. So meet your new friends, Skeleton and Cat. Share them with all of your little people in your life. And also any adult you know who could use the book equivalent of a gentle, warm hug.
Cute he is with the sandwich on his head. So cute. This art is absolutely gorgeous. I love this kind of art in a kid's book. I know Kelsey's partial to this kind of thing as well.
I literally almost picked this book. And then I did not. Like you started saying it, and I was like, yes, it's so cute.
I know. So, Suzi, you haven't been here, but the last few weeks, Julia has. The last few weeks have been like, now it's not a Halloween book, I know, but now Halloween starts in July. So it's just sort of like all Halloween sort of themed things. It's a skeleton, yes, and a cat. Okay, but it's not a Halloween book. Okay. But it's fine, even if it is, because that's the vibe right now, is that it's just Halloween all the time. And the candy is out and everything, so like it's, it's fine. But this is really sweet art and a gorgeous look and a great read aloud, I think, for kids.
It is, and it's hopefully it's supposed to be a 5-book series, so there will be more Skeleton and Cat to
Fun.
come too.
Really fun. I was telling Kristen as well that we've been doing lots of kids books on 11s. Kristen is our Scholastic. Only talks about kids books because that's what she's got at Scholastic. But I've noticed that everyone is like holding it up for her when she's not here. We're talking about kids books every week, which is great. Kids books are a huge part of the books we sell. So thank you, Suzi. Julia.
Okay. Well, for my first book, I'm going in on the biggest movie out right now, which is the Odyssey. So
Is it? I haven't
it,
even heard of that movie.
I know. Nobody's heard anything of this little indie film. But so Union Square, which is a publisher that Hachette just bought, and like maybe a year ago, they do these different classic series. So they're doing, it just came out, this illustrated version of the Odyssey, and it is absolutely gorgeous. You can see it's got this sprayed edge. It's got, actually, when you open it, it's got sort of a gilded edge along the inside. And then it takes sort of classical paintings of the different characters in Homer's Odyssey, the different, scenarios in the Odyssey, and it's scattered throughout. So it's and you can see it's got the little bookmark ribbon. And so this is just, I think, for like a great collector's edition, if you want it on your shelf, it's a great book to dive into. I took a Greek literature class in college and had to read both the Iliad and the Odyssey. And let me tell you, you want to read the Odyssey.
Yeah.
And I mean, definitely shade to the Iliad, which is like battle after battle after battle. This one, I think if you haven't read it, I do recommend it. It, like, I don't know, it moves. It's got,
It's a really great book.
yeah,
I mean,
it
it
is.
really is.
It's a great story. So yeah, you can see the sort of beautiful interior, and it's just I think it's a great item to sort of celebrate not just the movie, but also this amazing, amazing story. And yeah, I know there's a lot of versions out there, but I think Union Square has done just such a good job with this version. So
these illustrations kind of remind me of some of the early, when I was reading. Okay, so when I got to college, we had to take. It was required humanities. The first, every freshman had to take Humanities 101. And the first thing that we had to read was the Iliad, right? We didn't actually read the Odyssey at all. I spent most of the time on the Iliad. Prior to that, as like an 11-year-old or 10, 11, I was reading Edith Hamilton, who was like, and these stories, these Greek stories, especially like the Odyssey and all of the characters that Odysseus meets along the way, in addition to Penelope with that shroud and the whole thing, these are things that sort of got cemented in and have stayed with me my entire life, and have helped to explain, a lot of what's come out of Greek mythology. And it is, well, we're not going to have that conversation today about the Eurocentrism, etc., but that's a conversation for another time. But since we're on the Odyssey, it really is a great story, and I think there's room. I mean, on my shelf, I have my original Edith Hamilton, which is like cracking, and and then the new one, the 100-year anniversary one, and then along with all of the other Odysseys that have come. Like, you can have a whole shelf of Odysseys, and it's all cool, And this this reminds me of the older illustrated versions, those kind of illustrations.
Yeah, and actually we have a version of Edith Hamilton's mythology that
Was that yours? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that is like a hardcover and has the sort of a similar sort of gilded edge and stuff like that.
I have it.
So yeah, it's very nice. But yeah, I think I don't know. I like to have like sometimes a nice version of a book, even if I have a cracked and worn old one on the shelf as well.
Yeah. And as far as the Iliad, Emily Wilson, there's the new translation of that, which helps. And then
I haven't read that one.
Song of Achilles. Great Song of Achilles.
Yeah.
By Madeline Miller. And that'll also help. So yeah. Thank you, Julia.
Sure thing.
All right, Kelsey.
All right. So I'm starting today with a book called Girls That Never Die. It's a book of poems by Sophia El Hilo. I finished this actually like a month or two ago. I read poetry sort of slowly, but it's a really beautiful poetry book by a woman who is Sudanese, but now she lives in DC. And it's really beautiful, but also very heartbreaking because a lot of it is about being a woman in every stage of being a woman, from being a child to being an adult, and sort of the heartbreak and the pain and unfortunately sometimes the violence but there are also some very beautiful moments about being a child, about being a woman and carrying a child, but I'm not always impressed by poetry I read, but this entire collection is just like so beautiful, and there's a lot of homage to her Muslim roots and to her home country of Sudan, and every poem I read I just really thought was beautiful and I loved. So definitely check this out. It's my current staff rec in the bookstore, so it'll be on the staff recommendations shelf.
This is such a gorgeous cover. I'm like just kind of mesmerized by it. I haven't seen this one, Kelsey.
This came out quite a few years ago, and I picked it up and took a
Okay.
copy home because of the cover. So it's been out for a little while. I'm trying to see when it came out.
Well, see,
Yeah,
this is what
2022.
booksellers do so well. They introduce you to like a book you may have missed or something that was out
Yeah.
like 100 years ago, or maybe
Right,
2.
correct. Yes, or 4.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
They go by really
Right.
fast. That's the thing. I think for us, especially in the business, certainly for reps, and you guys are always, and we are too, to a certain extent, reading ahead of publication, and then by the time the thing comes out, you've already seen it so many times. So you tend to forget, and then so much stuff comes by so fast that you can't read everything, which is always it's a little bit traumatic for me because there's so much stuff I want to read. But poetry is nice. It's really great to make time for poetry every once in a while, and I think slowly is the best way to read it. So thanks for telling me about this one, Kelsey. I'm going to check it out. All right, Suzi, back to you.
All right, this next one is an oldie, but it's a good one. It's Little House in the Big Woods, which, for anyone who didn't grow up with this book, it's a classic story of a little girl named Laura growing up in the 1870s in a log cabin deep in the Wisconsin woods. She's experiencing the changing of the seasons. She lives with her perfect sister Mary, her hardworking mother, and her music-loving pa. It's just a very engaging and entertaining peek into the life of, pioneer times 100 years ago. This was brought fresh to my attention, partly because there's this little TV show on Netflix that you may have heard of, and I'll get to talking about that more in just a sec. But also in May, HarperCollins released their American Classics collection, which highlights about, I think it's 50 titles of our best books by American authors. And so I've been very, very slowly trying to read my way through that list. Since I'd read Little House in the Big Woods as a kid, I decided to read it with my kid. So selfishly, I thought this book would put her to sleep because there's like these beautiful descriptions of like every single step in making a bullet, like pouring the lead and molding it. And I was like, no way is a 5-year-old going to stay awake for this. But she did. She was very engaged. She had questions. She wanted to learn more. She often wanted to know, why are certain things no longer done now? Because there's like a whole discussion around like spanking. And she's like, what is spanking? Why would a dad hit his kid? But so it's a good chance to talk about how things have changed over the years. And the beautiful illustrations by Garth Williams, of course, draws a kid in as well. And she just loved looking because they're so detailed and rich. And now with the Little House on the Prairie TV show being on Netflix, the series is being sort of freshly looked at. And I think it is unfortunate that I think there's 2 TV adaptations of the series, and they both skip over Little House in the Big Woods. They go straight to Little House on the Prairie, and without this context of this community that they live with in the woods, because even though their cabin's isolated, there's family, they have grandparents, they have a whole community that gathers for dances, and it's just knowing what they give up when they choose to go to the prairie and then on into other parts of the West. It adds a richness to the story that unfortunately is not always there. But so yeah, come back and read this. Even if you read this book many years ago as a kid, it's worth revisiting.
That's interesting. It's really interesting to hear what your daughter was asking you actually about what's going on, like because we all have our own associations with Laura Ingalls Wilder, right? Whether you saw you read them as a kid or you saw the original TV show, which was that the 70s? Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And there was a whole thing around that was kind of iconic. And then So whatever your own relationship is with it, but like to come to it with fresh eyes as a 5-year-old is really an interesting thought. And I hadn't thought about that until you mentioned that you read it to your daughter. And I was thinking, oh, that is interesting to think about it from that perspective, to try to see it from the eyes of a kid. I am just for, fun, like have taken a look at the new show.
How is it? I haven't had a chance to peek in yet.
I have thoughts about it. I've read some really interesting commentary on the internets about about Laura Ingalls Wilder. Her daughter, I guess it was her daughter who actually kind of revised or put together a lot of these books and kind of sanitized them. And her daughter was also pals with Ayn Rand, apparently. Did not know. Yeah, exactly, Julia. That was my reaction as well. And just how some of the things were sanitized, like, there was that time Ma had gangrene and had to cut off her foot or something while she was alone in the, I don't know, stuff like that. But really interesting. And the show it kind of like almost it wants to say some things about the Osage, but it doesn't quite manage to get there, because it's got to keep things nice and clean, So there's like hints of like racism that happen, and you've got anyway. But it's interesting from looking at it from a multi-layered perspective. But that's so interesting that you're reading it, and that it's going to be valuable to your daughter. It's like interesting, keeping her
Yeah, it
awake,
is. It is
engaged.
interesting because I read them as a child, but it had been like 30 years since I last picked one of them up.
Right.
And I knew we weren't going to go deeper into the series for a while because there's some content that I'm just not ready to have a 5-year-old discussion with.
Yeah.
This one, other than the spanking that caught her attention, it was very much kind of all the good parts that I remembered, the delicious food or all the
Right.
family getting together. But yeah, as an adult with the context from books like Prairie Fires, I think is what it was called. There's an excellent biography about Laura Ingalls Wilder that came out several years ago.
That's right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so it's like a very different perspective reading it now versus when I was probably 7, I think, when I read it the first time.
Yeah.
And you get very different things out of it. But it is interesting. And yeah, with all of the her daughter's influence, you really have to treat it as a story and not this is what actually happened.
Exactly. Excellent. Thanks, Suzi.
Thank you.
Julia?
Okie doke. All right. My next book is, it came out a couple of weeks ago, but I felt like, we're right in the middle of baseball season. And maybe we should talk about one of the greatest pitchers of all time. This is a book called Nolan by Tim Brown, The Singular Life of an American Original. And it's so funny because I'm sort of on the Hachette indie sales rep team. I am the sports, I cover the sports.
Are you the music person too? Because you really
and the cookbook. Yes, those are all mine. But the Texas rep, she was like, I know he's important, but tell me more about it. And I said, okay. I said, here we go. How deep do you want to go? But I think, for people who remember, and he played in 4 different decades. One of my favorite stats about Nolan Ryan is that he pitched a no-hitter in 4 subsequent decades. So he is, I would say, in the top 3 best pitchers of all time. The other 2 being Sandy Koufax and Satchel Paige are my other 2, if anyone cares about that kind of thing. But this is, I just think he is such a fascinating figure and such a polarizing figure. I mean, if you were watching baseball at this time, people hated him, and he had an attitude, and he had there's a famous fight he got into on the pitcher's mound. You should YouTube it because it is very fun to watch. And just put Nolan Ryan fight and it will come up. But this, I think it's such a good, what I love about this book is it really contextualizes as any kind of history, there's enough time that has passed now to sort of have a real reckoning with what Nolan Ryan was, who he was to baseball, and sort of what his legacy is. And so it is a biography. The author, Tim Brown, is very knows Nolan Ryan and has spent a lot of time with him. And so you do really get this intimate portrait of this, amazing athlete who also had some demons. And just to paint a picture of how big Nolan Ryan was, I was a kid in the San Francisco Bay Area at that point, I think I was an A's fan. I did make a switch at a certain point to the Giants, but I used to have a Texas Rangers hat because of how much I loved watching Nolan Ryan pitch. And I was not a Texas Rangers fan. So, that's the sort of influence he had and the big sort of mark he made on baseball and on the history of baseball. And so this is a great book. I think, I think of it for anyone who loves baseball, for anyone who's, who loves a great personality, who loves a sort of complicated figure in a certain, pastime or in a, I don't know, in any sort of genre of work. This is an absolutely stunning book. And I just think worthy of attention, particularly if you care about, baseball or sports in general.
Yeah. And even if you have like a passing interest, right? And you just want to get into a really good and well-written biography, because you don't have to be, I think, to come in with opinions about something necessarily.
No, not at all.
Yeah. And it can just be interesting and enlightening and, inform you about something that you didn't know necessarily. Or I think we've talked about this before, Julie. I grew up in a baseball family. Just my dad had a baseball school for a while, which was really fun. And so so it was like a baseball all the time. My brother played baseball. And so that name is, but I don't know all of that backstory actually about him. I know the name and I know his importance to it. So, but I love this kind of going down a road and just, and just reading a really great story about biography.
I think he still holds the record. I believe he pitched 12 no-hitters. That's in his career. That's me pulling it. That might not be the exact numbers.
No, but I mean, not even if you're like close to that, and that's
it's something
insane,
like that.
right?
Yeah, it's wild.
I think baseball's gotten pretty overshadowed lately with the World Cup, but yeah, it is baseball season.
It is.
So yeah, thank you, Julia. All right, Kelsey, back to you.
All right. So this next book I'm going to talk about was given to me to borrow by my fellow bookseller, Jonna. So shout out to Jonna for this one. So it's called It Lasts Forever and Then It's Over by Anne DeMarkin. And Jonna gave this to me because I think I talked about on Elevenses a while ago, a book called The City in Glass, which I really, really enjoyed, but it was like one of those weird ones where it's hard to talk about and sell because like not a lot happens in quotes. And so I was telling Jonna about it and he was like, well, if you really enjoyed that, you should read this other book. So It Lasts Forever and Then It's Over is about a zombie apocalypse, but like not in any manner that I've ever read any. So like the apocalypse has happened. Some people are zombies, some people are still human. And this book, it's short as well, much like City in Glass was. And it follows one woman who is now a zombie, and she's slowly losing parts of herself, both literally, physically, like I think her arm falls off at one point, but also like mentally becoming more and more zombie. But she's struggling with the fact that like if she's going to survive as a zombie, she's got to eat people. But like that's still, so she's still got some sort of consciousness in there and it's sort of told in vignettes. Like it is not one straight through narrative, and it's about this woman's zombie. It's not violent, it's not bloody, it's not gory. It's actually like a very like humanized version of a zombie where she is just continually walking west because she's trying to get back to something that's still in her brain of when she was human. And it's just her daily sort of thoughts and showing up in these different places where either there are other zombies that she joins for a little while or stumbling upon areas of civilization that are still run by humans and her dealing with that. But it just is like a really beautiful, weird account of not only losing yourself, but trying to also keep some part of yourself and also zombies. So it was just I've not really read anything like it. I don't feel like I can quite classify it. But again, it's short. It's one of those where I think if it was longer, you'd be like, this is too long. But it's the perfect length for this sort of book about ideas and zombies at the same time. So it's very good.
When did you say this was published?
Ooh, this one? No, I did not. But because this probably, John, I think, read it ages ago. It came out, actually, no, 2024. I was thinking it was longer ago, but 2024. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm asking because I have been reading a lot of, I mean, it makes sense that we're seeing a lot of books that sort of are dystopic in nature, or just writing about like, hey, this is what's happening now, which is dystopic in nature, but also going to this other level with zombies, and not zombies in like, you know, Night of the Living Dead type zombies, but really like, what does that mean on a more metaphysical level, you know, and a more metaphoric level, actually, and exploring the, like you say, the losing parts of yourself, which to me really is very meaningful, you know, right now. And we're seeing a lot of this, a lot of reflection about this kind of thing. I'm reading a book that won't be out until the spring. We'll be talking about it a lot more, and it's called Human Again, and like reclaiming humanity in the midst of all of this kind of collective trauma that we're going through. And I think that this kind of addresses that idea, you know, what it means to sort of lose yourself in all of this, right? Yeah. And I think
And
it's great that it's short also, because yeah.
right, because I mean, it is sort of a like, it's not uplifting. It's not, you know, like there are beautiful parts about it that are, but it's certainly not like an uplifting tale. And I feel like it is a
Right.
like, how
Right.
much can you lose of yourself before you are no longer yourself is kind of the bigger, in quotes, overarching
Right.
question. Yeah.
Yeah, which is a good question, you know, and I think then people are looking for answers of that kind of thing. So,
Right.
and I also find it interesting that you're drawn to books that can't be defined, you know,
Yeah. Like I
and
don't know
what
what
that says
like
about, you know,
yeah, because I don't ever think that like if someone came into the store and was like, I want a zombie book, I don't know that this is in quotes what they're looking for, because it's not like The
right,
Walking Dead or something like that, really at all. It just happens to be
right.
that this main character is a zombie. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great, and it's a great way in with some of those more those kinds of thoughts. So, all right, another book to be added. Thank you, Kelsey.
You're welcome.
All right, Susie, when she's let's start off our last round of the day.
Yeah, so my last book is The Story Keeper. This is a Gothic novel that's centered on a big rambling estate in Australia called Warrumbira. It's been purchased by Fiona Winslow, who grew up there, and after the death of her uncle, she bought it from her cousin. She loved it, but others in the town think it's haunted or cursed, and of course, strange things are happening now that she's there. As she's clearing out the home, she uncovers a box of books from an unknown writer called The Family Estate. So why did her uncle have this like giant stack of books from an author with no other titles and no publicity? As she starts to read through it, she realizes that chapters of the book parallel her own family's story. And so as she's reading what is a very urgent tale of a woman in a horrible relationship and she's trying to escape, she's slowly uncovering pieces of her own past and family secrets. And the reader, of course, is untangling this as well. It's a great story for readers who like shadowy old houses, layered family mysteries, and books within a book. And it's a new direction for Kelly Rimmer, the author. She's best known for her World War II historical fiction. And this has a lot of the sort of attention to detail and the historical accuracy that makes her other books so engaging. But when I try to think of like comps, the one that comes to mind is a much older book called The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfeld. This is like 20 years ago, so I don't know if anyone remembers it. But if you want like a big Gothic story with a lot of writerly elements in it that you just cannot put down, one of those books that you can binge through in a single afternoon or stretch out luxuriously over a week or two, this is the one for you. Just perfect beach read, perfect early fall cozy read, and yes, a perfect Halloween read too.
Who doesn't want to read a book about like a Gothic with the creepy house and writerly touches? I mean, it's sort of like it's sign me up, right? The only thing you need to go along with it is like a cat and at your feet and a fire and like a storm outside, right? Preferably in the Scottish Highlands. So really, really fun. It's got everything. It's got all the elements, right? So I know Kelly Rimmer. What is the name of her other? I keep seeing Kelly Rimmer.
Yeah,
She's
the German Wife and The Paris Agent were like the two World War II ones that were really
right.
big.
Yeah. So she's already got an audience. It's a little bit of a departure for her, but she's got a pretty devoted audience, I think. So this will be good for her. This went on sale when?
I want to say within the last couple of weeks.
I don't know.
I'm trying to think. It's like I know how dates work.
I know because I see things like
July 21st, yesterday.
On sale now. Thank you, Susie.
Thank you.
All right, Julia.
Okay. my last book is my Halloween book for the day. I feel like I bring one every week right now, but
You
and
gotta
I
make
wish
the rules. That's
I
the
wish I
rule.
had it here because this is really a visual book. So this is called Halloween Street, and it is it's an alphabet book, and it folds out. So this like little house thing, there's a ribbon that ties it closed, and then the whole Halloween Street accordions out. It's 8 feet long. And so it accordions all the way out. And on one side, there's like a little lift the flap poem that gives you the A to Z. And so you'll have like, you lift the flap and it says A is for apples that bob in a bowl. And then you lift the other one. B is for bats flying through a hole. C is for cobwebs so carefully spun. G is for dress up, time to have fun. E is for eyeballs that float in a jar. F is for full moon that shines from afar. So you get the idea that it's this very fun rhyming look. And then so this is the one side that folds entirely out from the book. And then on the other side you have a whole Halloween street that you can sort of put on the ground and play with. And it is just an utter delight of a book. It's so interactive. It's so fun. I think I think I definitely brought it to rep night, but I had this fold out and playhouse that came out last fall, and this is from the same publisher, and it's sort of this it's like a similar concept where you fold it out and sort of you can play with the book as you read and learn. So this is Halloween Street. It's an utter delight, and I highly recommend.
So there have been others, right? This is one in a series. There was a Christmas one, right? There's a Christmas one, and
I'm not sure about the Christmas one, perhaps before my time, but there was like
yeah.
a fold out and play house. So you folded it out and you like built all these characters out of cardboard and stuff.
No, they've done with the ribbon and everything. They've done they've done a Christmas. There's a Christmas one as well. And I feel like these books, I love them so much. They play with them in the store and they come in and like open them up and like literally play with them in the store. It's hard Julia's right. It's hard to get a sense of it. Oh, thanks for posting some of the spreads, Joey. Appreciate that. But it's like, pulling it out and stretching the whole thing out, all 8 feet of it, it's so much fun. And it's so creative, and it like comes back to this nice, neat little, like book. And you don't have to pull it open if you want to just look at it and move the pages. You can do that also. But like, it's such a clever idea. It's like when you first looked at it, the Christmas one, I was like, I can't believe nobody thought of this until now. It's such a clever idea. How did they do that? And you just want to look at it. It's just there's so much happening on it. It's so entertaining, and it's not that it's lesser if you don't fold it out, but it's just so much. It's so much added to it. There's so much to keep a kid entertained with this, and an adult apparently.
When I presented it at Kaliba, I got to just kind of like open it and fold it out, and it is like quite dramatic when you.
It is dramatic. Yeah. And you have one person holding one end of it, and then you're like, on the other end. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very cool. It's a great, and you know what? You guys are going to be sold out of all of your Halloween books by the time Halloween actually gets here, which I guess is fine because everyone will have stocked up. But I mean, all right, that's it. We're moving it up. We're moving it up. I'm have to start doing some of my Halloween bakes as well. Those are the most fun. Thank you, Julia.
We want some pumpkin cookies. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've got like the gingerbread zombie. Yeah. All right, Kelsey, let's finish it up for the day.
Right. I'm excited about this Halloween book because I love the original little like house one. We always have it in the store. We sell a good amount of it. And we are already stocked with a bazillion Halloween books. So if anyone else wants to get started, we've got so many Halloween books in store.
Gotta put it.
Yes. So I thought since my first two books were a little bit on the more like heavier side, I thought I'd finish it up actually with a kid's book called Bean Supreme by Stephanie Gragan. And Bean Supreme is about a little tiny hedgehog named Bean, and she lives in a strawberry patch with her grandmother and her favorite stuffy, who's a little pig named Clem. And these books are sort of set up again, sort of in like a little like vignette tiny story. So although it's a picture book, there'll be like a little adventure, and then there's a new title and a new little adventure, and then and it's just sort of like separate little cute things that Bean goes around and does. So, like in this one, grandma finds some kites in the attic, and Bean and a friend go out to find the kites, and she's really struggling. And then she finally gets the kite up in the air, and she gets flown up into the air with the kite because she's so tiny. And she's having a grand old time floating over the town. Meanwhile, grandma and the friend are like, oh my gosh, running after her. And they finally like catch her by the toe and bring her back down. But there's at least 2 books in this series because we've got another one in the store as well that's also adorable. And I just think it's cute little stories, cute little adventures. And I just know, I mean, I think it's adorable as an adult, but I know that if I was a child, I would just think it was so incredibly cute to look at. It's got great little illustrations, funny little anecdotes. It's really delightful. So it's one of my favorites in store at the moment.
Adorable. Totally
Yeah,
adorable.
it's
Really
very
cute
cute.
art. I love that we have so many sweet kids books. And you're watching, if you've been to Diesel, I'm assuming, and you've seen our kids area is tiny, 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 but there's so many books in it. There's so many books in it,
Yes.
and so many like really gorgeous. It's stuffed full. It's like all kinds of discovery little nooks and crannies. There's so many fantastic picture books out there right now. It's hard to choose, but these I love the skeleton and cat one is just absolutely adorable, and this is so super cute, like a hedgehog with a pig. I mean, that's a little stuffed pig. It's really cute. I had an argument with my husband about hedgehogs the other day because he was like, they're rodents, they're not as cute. I'm like, how can you not love a hedgehog? They're so cute. I grew up with Beatrix Potter, right? So, like, hedgehogs are de facto cute.
Correct.
But he's like, no, rodents. Anyway, you can't not love a hedgehog. So, gorgeous little book. So, all of these really fun, super interesting, and fun books. And I love that we keep talking about kids' books. This is a good time to talk about kids' books. The summertime belongs to kids. So, and baseball. So, thank you all so much for bringing such great titles to talk about. Suzi Hough from HarperCollins, Julia Callahan from Hachette, and Kelsey from the bookstore from Diesel. And Joey, thank you very much behind the scenes, especially for posting all of those great inside spreads. We appreciate that. And thanks to all of you for joining us. We'll be back again next week. We'll have more reps. We'll have more great discussion. It'll still be hot, I'm sure. And it'll probably still be humid. So in the meantime, I hope you'll come back and join us then. But in the meantime, everybody do come out for the book crawl this weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun in LA. Lots of bookstores will be there, and everyone's got air conditioning. So you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. We'll see you all next week. Have a great week, everybody. Bye.